Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you all for joining today, our webinar Wednesday with IHA. Today we're going to hear from Justin and Adrian with epower at Home, a digital marketing agency dedicated to houseware brands. They have been our preferred agency since 1999, managing our digital program throughout the year and on site at the show, and work with IHA members committed to catching up and standing out online. Today, they'll be giving us some tips and ideas on how to differentiate your brand with digital marketing. It gives me pleasure to announce Adrian and Justin.
Thanks, Ginny. It's always a pleasure to hear your voice. We're super excited to be here today to talk about differentiation in digital marketing. With so much happening in the housewares industry, now is an excellent time to take a good hard look at your digital presence and refine things so that your brand stands out and you can make an impact online.
That's right. These days, we're really living in a digital world. So we have to take a step back and look beyond specific digital marketing channels and tactics and stop siloing our marketing initiatives to be able to think in the bigger picture. We need to focus on marketing successfully in this digital age.
And that distinction between digital marketing and marketing in a digital world is one that we're really passionate about here at epower at Home. So what started as a small tactical digital project for the IHA way back in 1999 has morphed into a much more strategic partnership that allows us to help them reach the housewares industry more effectively and provide brands like you with housewares-focused marketing tips, strategies, and insight for better performance in today's digital world. So it was our decades-long partnership with IHA that inspired us to focus on helping housewares brands to catch up and stand out online. I'm Justin Toddy, VP of Account Strategies at epower at Home, and I have spoken to several of the brands on this webinar before, either at the Chief Housewares Executive Super Sessions or CHESS, which we've been sponsoring for a few years now, or throughout the years at the International Home and Housewares Show, of which epower at Home has been manning the social media and digital marketing center for almost a decade, talking about digital trends, discussing digital strategy with housewares brands just like yours.
And I'm Adrian Bradison. I'm the Director of Content Marketing at epower at Home. I'm also one of IHA's account managers for our agency, and I help manage the day-to-day support our team provides. The 2020 Inspired Home Show will actually be my 10th show with the IHA team, and I'm already really looking forward to it. Beyond our work in the social media and digital marketing center, which Justin just mentioned, we also handle the live social coverage at the show, which gives us the chance to see so many great products and talk with so many brands and attendees on the floor. We've both been in the industry for over a decade and have seen firsthand the overwhelming shift marketing has made over the years. Many of the conversations we've had with brands at IHA events all come back to better understanding and connecting with consumers as technology, shopping habits, and trends evolve. So just as the show is rebranding for 2020 to better connect the housewares industry to the consumer mindset, your marketing needs to evolve too.
I love it when you point out how old we're getting, Adrian. 10 years seems like a long time in digital, but it's not. But in general, Adrian's right. Digital marketing has evolved substantially since the rise of digital marketing, and consumers' needs are getting way more complex. Consumers aren't just looking for the latest and greatest product. They want to cultivate a lifestyle. So connecting your products to their lifestyle aspirations should be at the heart of your marketing strategy.
That's right. And we also have to consider that there's more information and noise than ever before. There's just so much data and content being produced every day that buyers have access to more articles or memes and resources, recipes, and opinions than they even know what to do with.
I mean, the housewares industry itself is even bigger. Walking through last year's International Home and Housewares Show was just beyond incredible. There's more brands, more influencers, retailers, and publishers. And everyone is competing for that awareness and attention.
That's right. And finally, we have to consider that shoppers are growing up. It's actually predicted that this year, millennials will overtake boomers to become the largest living population. And that means that these new generations are becoming the decision makers. And this next generation of shoppers grew up with technology and expect brands to keep up with them.
So over the last decade plus, helping Housewares brands catch up and stand out has been our driving force. And today we're going to talk through our 5 favorite tips for how to differentiate your marketing in a digital world. We'll cover why the following tactics are important, how you can put them into action for your brand, and what successful implementation will look like.
That's right. And first up, we're going to talk about your audience. And to differentiate yourself, you need to know your audience better than anyone. You're in business to sell products, but who are you selling them to? Who do you want to be using your products? Who's going to love them the most? You could sell without giving much thought to those questions, but you can market and budget more effectively, sell more products, and differentiate yourself from your competitors by truly knowing your audience.
And I really think that's key. I mean, the truly knowing your audience goes beyond just the simple demographics. So we're not talking about reaching a 25 to 35-year-old mom married with kids. We need to go beyond those simplistic demographic data and truly understand the consumer. So we do this by developing personas. If you have talked to me or any of my colleagues at epower at home, you know we are huge on brand personas.
It's because we think personas are so important that we wanted to give you a little look at the kind of personas we develop so you can wrap your head around why they work. We start with the demographics. We love getting our clients insight on who they want to reach, but that's when we get the chance to dig into the data to really build that backstory. What inspires the audience? What motivates them to buy? How do they shop? What pain points do they have? And who are their biggest influencers? From there, we can look at how to market to them. Do they prefer Pinterest or Instagram? Do they watch longer form videos or prefer shorter clips? Why are they loyal to brands? And what does it take to convince them to try something new?
Yeah, those are great points. And to help you guys get started with truly getting to know your audiences better, we're going to offer you the chance to work with our team on creating just a simple persona. So with just a little input from your team, we'll craft a starter persona for you. No charge. We'll have the details at the end of the webinar here, but you can either reach out and fill out the form or shoot me an email after the webinar and we can get started. So while we've been preaching the importance of these brand personas for years, we are not the only ones noticing the importance of them. I mentioned attending Chess a couple weeks ago. While I was there, I had the privilege of hearing the NPD group talk about the evolution of the mass market. So instead of trying to market to everyone, the NPD group urged all attendees to think about all the micro markets today instead. So those micro markets are the personas we are talking about. I mean, if you don't believe me, check out some of the reasons why it matters. The one that stands out the most is the one from Walker Group, which is an 80-year-old business consulting firm. And they say by the end of 2020, customer experience will overtake price and product as the key brand differentiator. While that may be a bold claim to some, our experience in the industry with persona development and results definitely correlate to that fact.
It's all true, and we're big fans. But developing great personas isn't the only step in getting to know your audiences better. Once you've got those personas in place, you need to take the time out to map out their buying journeys and then evaluate your current digital presence. If you know your target audience loves Pinterest but doesn't spend as much time on Twitter, you need to rethink your social footprint. You don't have to be on every social channel to be successful. You have to be on the right social channels. So if you're looking to increase your exposure to millennial moms, then it's time to realign your ad budget to focus more on the sites or influencers that millennial moms are connecting with. So while the consumers are scrolling past your competitors' boring social posts or unsubscribing from their promo-only emails, you'll be grabbing their attention. You'll be answering their questions, and you'll be making them fall in love with your brand by putting in the extra effort of getting to know them and showing them just how perfect your product and brands are for their life. So what does it look like when you know your audience better than anyone else? Well, with that more humanized approach to your audience, you can think bigger picture about nurturing, say, a specific person to the sale and beyond. So your content will be focused on their questions and their lifestyle. Your emails will look and feel more natural and personalized. Your ads will address their pain points and their interests. You'll see better quality traffic to your site, more engagement on your social channels. You'll get better search visibility and just overall more loyal fans.
So when you know who you're talking to, what they want, and how to talk to them, you're going to see big improvements in your marketing. So when ePower Home signs on a new client, building buyer personas is one of our very first projects. So with one client, the traffic quality of their site skyrocketed in just a few months. People were spending more time on the site, going to the right pages, interacting with more content, and their sales increased right along with it. So not only is understanding your audience important from a sales standpoint, it's also beneficial from a communication standpoint. It can streamline communications between your marketing department and sales department. It can help with packaging or your communications with other outside vendors. If everyone has a visual understanding of who your ideal customers are or who potential emerging customers are, it's a win for everyone.
That's right. And part of the benefit of digital marketing and thinking about marketing in a digital age is using the information available to you, right? So you can get audience insights on everything from age, gender, and location to their interests, how they prefer to buy, even their recent purchases. So by building quality personas, then watching the data across your channels, you can refine your campaigns until you're actually reaching your intended audience and they're doing what you want them to do. It's one of the most valuable aspects of marketing in the digital age and the first step in really setting your brand apart.
So our next step here involves planning for the customer journey. So don't just plan for the purchase, plan for the entire customer experience. No one wants to be sold to, talked at, or shoved towards a sale. So as we discussed earlier when talking about changing consumer behavior, shoppers are researching more. They have access to more information and opinions than ever before. So if you're not marketing for the entire buyer's journey, you're absolutely missing out.
That's right. And if we think about the old marketing funnel, it was pretty linear, right? Awareness, consideration, purchase. But shoppers today are paving their own way. They may spend a lot of time in the consideration stage, researching more products or getting to know more brands. They may take longer to actually make a decision. Showrooming and web rooming have certainly changed the game when it comes to the decision stage of path to purchase. But whether your audiences are shopping in store and buying online or researching online and then heading to a store to shop, you can set your brand apart by giving your target audiences exactly what they need at every touch
point. So take a good look at your marketing efforts. Are they integrated? Do consumers feel like they're picking up a conversation they left off, no matter where they found you? Is your brand tone voice consistent and easily recognizable? If your answer is yes, you are in an outstanding group of brands. In fact, only 8% of consumers truly believe that brands are creating super experiences. But if your idea of a super experience is setting up a remarketing campaign after a consumer looks at one of your products, then blasting them with 80 ads a day of said product, you're definitely not in that 8%. So really think of the whole journey and how your brand can consistently engage your audiences throughout their entire path to purchase.
Justin just hit on one of those key points of brand consistency. It's another really important element of our projects with clients, and our buyer personas are actually just part of a bigger picture brand consistency plan. We work through these to help our clients become more recognizable wherever and whenever consumers find them. But then it also helps us create a shared understanding of that tone and voice that'll be used throughout later projects. It's really all about finding that consistent brand authority and tone that'll help you go a really long way in planning for a better customer experience and setting your brand apart
online. So with a clear plan for keeping your brand consistent, you can go back to answering the tough questions about your current strategy. So audit your current content and map that to your buyer's journey. Where are those gaps? Does the right hand know what the left hand is doing? Does your social media team know what your digital advertising agency is doing? There needs to be integration. That integration starts with a shared understanding of a persona and how your tactical efforts like social media and advertising, are integrated into a purposeful customer journey.
Exactly. If all of your content, ads, and marketing is solely focused on a sale, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities to engage and connect with your audiences across channels, across teams, across every touch point. So integrating that marketing to tell better stories that resonate with customers so they feel a connection to your brand and products, and then gently guides them down that path to purchase will help you stand out online.
So planning for a journey rather than just a purchase could take more work than some brands are used to. But I can tell you that Payoff is worth it. You'll see higher engagement rates with your content. Your website, people will spend more time there with your brand. You can start developing brand advocates that are sharing their experiences with others, giving you that sought after social proof and sales bump you want. So yes, it is time consuming, but if you take that time to become a brand and not just a manufacturer, I do think you'll be pleased with the results.
That's a great point. And we've gotten a lot of feedback and questions from brands talking about the commitment that goes into it and whether or not that payoff is worth it in the end. And I was actually just reading a study from a web analytics company that found visitors who read an article for 3 minutes return twice as often as those who read for 1 minute. And then in a separate analysis, they found that higher engaged time also leads to better brand recall. So you can really set your brand apart just by giving people reasons to interact with your brand early and often to keep them coming back.
So as you're mapping out your marketing efforts to your audience's path to purchase, you'll be cultivating meaningful relationships with your audiences along the way. So think of this almost as sales 101. Is it easier to make a sale on a cold call? Or would it be easier to make a sale after developing a meaningful relationship? If you know your audience better than anyone and have a clear and consistent brand tone and voice, using that to connect and start building that relationship with your consumers should be an easy next step.
That's right. So what we're really breaking it down and asking you to do right now is to find ways to shift your marketing from one directional or transactional and to become really reciprocal and personal. So tell the stories that resonate on a deeper level with people. How did your brand start? How did it get to where it is today? Think of your employees and use their stories. What are their favorite products or recipes or tips? Use your team. You have the industry experience and the trend knowledge that consumers crave. So use it to connect with them and help them build those lifestyles they're working to achieve. And then take it a step further and meet them where they are. Don't just wait for them to reach out or mention you directly, but look for opportunities to start conversations.
Yeah, internally, our team tracks uses of our clients' names and products, but also their content, competitors, and key phrases that come up in relation to their product's brand. So if our client publishes a resource on the 10 best hostess gifts for the holidays, we'll be on the lookout for questions, comments, and posts about holiday parties, party etiquette, gift ideas, and more, so we can jump in and help the consumer whenever possible. So as Adrian said, be responsive and proactive when you get a direct mention in your social channels, but don't sit back and wait for those direct mentions to come to you. As you're researching the key phrases your audiences are looking for and optimizing your site for those phrases, add them to your online monitoring tools and set aside time every day to get involved in conversations in authentic, engaging, and useful ways. So not as a sales tool or a tool to push your products, but to learn more about the questions and needs of your ideal consumers and to give the right help at the right time.
And it's looking beyond that, right? So beyond connecting with your brand, you need to also create opportunities for your fans to connect with each other. So we need to think about asking questions that start meaningful discussions. You know consumers are looking for more than products, so you need to be more than just that manufacturer. Create a community that inspires the lifestyles and homes your audiences are seeking. Think about your brand and what you really provide to people. Are you offering sustainable home goods that could spark a movement? Are your kitchen tools so good that people want to show off what they make with them every week? Do your cleaning products inspire people to declutter and live a more organized life that they want to show off? So think beyond your products and to what those products actually mean to your customers and let them show off in front of other like-minded individuals. And when you're focused on creating those meaningful connections with your audience, the metrics you care about might change a bit. We hear a lot of brands looking to hit X number of fan likes on Facebook or followers on Twitter. And a big social following is great, but if no one is actually seeing or engaging with your content, what good are those numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with meaningful relationships, you'll see more engagement, and probably at a deeper level around the social channels that are right for you. I mean, your reviews across the web will become more in depth. Visitors are more apt to return to your site, or sales channels and repeat sales will increase. You'll pull attention and engagement away from your competitors that aren't investing in these relationships. You'll keep the attention and loyalty of your customers. So develop those relationships, get the social proof, and brand advocates working in your favor.
That's right. Next up, let's talk about your brand's values to set yourself apart from the competition. We touched on this a little bit as we talked through creating meaningful relationships, but let's focus now on the actual causes and values that your brand chooses to champion.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Consumers want to buy from brands they feel connected to and that they feel good about supporting. So as a brand, you can choose to champion the causes and initiatives that make sense for your products. So this provides an added incentive for consumers to buy from you and gives you the opportunity to share more engaging, emotional stories that shoppers will connect with and remember. I mean, give your employees the opportunity to get involved with your causes as well. An employee connected to your values, your purpose, and your causes can stick around a lot longer. And I know I keep plugging chess, but this employee retention thing was a very, very big topic this year. So sharing your purpose is actually a dual-edged sword for your consumers and for your employees.
That's right. And I guess on a more personal note, like we've been really lucky to attend IHA's Housewares Charity Foundation Gala over the years, both working behind the scenes and as attendees. And the stories we hear at that event year after year just blow us away. That Housewares Cares hashtag is just a beautiful testament to the way this industry gives back throughout the year. But for that generosity to be a differentiating feature for your brand, you need to talk about your causes in a meaningful, unique way. You need to let your target audiences know what causes you support and why. That gives them even more reason to do business with you and lets you set your brand apart from the manufacturers that aren't working with a purpose.
So Adrian talked about that cause marketing efforts for the IHA Charity Foundation Gala, but what could cause marketing do for your brand? In one study, 80% of respondents reported that they were likely to switch to a brand that supported a cause they connected with. So finding the right initiatives for your brand is a big piece of this. You focus on the nonprofits or the initiatives that make sense for your brand and products that you know will resonate with your target audience. So once you're doing this, you'll be generating more credibility in your brand while keeping people more invested in what you're doing for continued loyalty and continued trust. All this is a lot easier once you have your personas and brand consistency plans in place.
Absolutely. Figuring out what it is that's going to resonate with your audience, that's the key. And I personally have a background in psychology, so I'm always really fascinated by why people do what they do. And social media in particular has been such an interesting phenomenon to watch because it's really allowed people to connect and share like never before. And it's been really interesting to see the changes in behavior and use of the platforms over the years. Obviously, different people share different things, and when you really dig into better understanding your audience, you'll find some really interesting stats and trends on which audiences share the most, what they typically share, what motivates them to share, and while each audience will have different motivators, some of the most common trends include sharing to entertain, to distinguish themselves, and then to nurture relationships.
So Adrian mentioned stats, and I'm a big fan of stats. I can't tell you how big of a fan of stats I am. So if you wanted to get my personal attention, show me the stats, right? So some of these stats that we're going to talk about here, I mean, I recently read one study where 78% of respondents said they share information because that lets them stay connected to people they don't want to lose touch with. 73% share to connect with others with similar interests. 68% say they share to give people a better sense of who they are and what they care about. And 49% said they are sharing allows them to inform others of products they care about, to encourage action, or potentially change others' opinion. So sharing is the key theme here. So remember that sharing happens both online and offline. So one of the trends we have seen and preached over the years is how great digital marketing is at measuring your ROI. So while digital marketing can absolutely measure your ROI, sometimes as an industry, personally, we take this too far and we forget that people do communicate offline. So keep that in mind. I mean, if you're seeing a measurable lift online, you're hitting on those motivators and building those relationships, and those efforts can absolutely correlate to offline sales as well.
That's right. And again, this all comes back to knowing your audience better than anyone. So we know different personas will have different reasons for sharing and talking about your products, both online and off. But once you know what motivates your audiences to share, you can personalize your content, your ads, your messaging to be more attractive to them. This is your chance to really lean into your brand aesthetic and craft the content that your target audience wants to see. What do they want their life to look like? This is a really important piece of differentiating yourself online, because consumers today place more trust than ever in recommendations and content and resources from their peers. So focus your content on what your audiences want to see, what they want to share, and then you'll be building greater authority and trust in your brand. Word of mouth marketing could be your best friend, both online and off, especially if you're focused on creating valuable, share-worthy, purposeful content that you know your audience is going to love.
Yeah, so Adrian just mentioned purposeful content, and that's a really important piece of this puzzle. So creating that engaging, entertaining, share-worthy content can be a challenge, but don't be so focused on purely those elements that you forget what your ultimate goal is. While you may get more engagement with cat memes or pics, is it really helping with your end goal? I mean, every single piece of content you develop should have a purpose, should have a purpose statement, intended audience, and clear next step that drive consumers to their path to purchase.
And don't forget to monitor and engage with the people talking about your brand and products. Get permission to use their reviews. Get permission to reshare the photos they're sharing and their testimonials. Then reward those loyal fans and give people a reason to want to keep talking about you. Beyond providing share-worthy content, use those conversations happening around your brand to your advantage. We know people trust user-generated content, so you're going to have to put in some time and some work to spark more conversations. You have to make the most of the results of your work by rewarding customers for talking about you.
So what will you and your team see when you're focused on user-generated content? You can expect more product reviews and that social proof that's highly sought after. I mean, higher product ratings, a spike in positive brand sentiment across the web, an increase in engagement, shares, and mentions of your brand. And let's not forget about that offline impact.
Yeah, the offline will be big. And you'll also see your return visitor numbers increasing as you give people more of a reason to come back to your site. So your engagement on the social channels will be higher and more in-depth. People will be leaving comments, tagging their friends, and sharing your content more regularly. You'll probably also see an increase in your direct traffic and your branded search queries as people hear about your brand and forget about the competition to come straight to you.
Yeah, branded search queries and brand lift. I mean, that's definitely something to keep an eye on when you're using these kind of tactics. So, I mean, all of these metrics are great in driving positive impact online and offline. But if you're doing it right, this positive impact will also improve your bottom line. I mean, sales are your ultimate goal. So doing it right will definitely help with those.
That's right. So now we've talked through 5 ways you can set your brand apart online. But now let's take a look at how your marketing strategy should address these needs.
So I think first and foremost, your marketing persona should be well crafted and data driven. So they need to be at the core of what you're doing both online and offline. And you do this so that you know your audience better than the competition and that you are giving your audience what they need to guide them along the path to purchase. So you know what makes them tick, what motivates them to buy, what lifestyles they're trying to curate, and what causes really speak to them. After that, you'll audit your current marketing strategies and your competitors. Look for those gaps. Are you active on the right social channels? Notice I said right social channels. I didn't say all social channels. Does your content resonate with your audiences? Do you have all the information someone would need on your site in order to make a purchase? Is your site easy to find and use? Does your advertising complement where a consumer is in their buyer's journey without being annoying and obtrusive?
Those are all such great questions to consider as you're taking that hard look at your current work. And then with a solid handle on what you're already doing, you can start filling in the gaps and building out a more well-rounded digital approach to marketing to digital consumers. So map out your efforts on your persona's buying journey. Where are you missing the chance to connect with them? Whether you need a more aggressive advertising program or a more active content strategy, maybe a more responsive or proactive social presence. This is your chance, once you have this better understanding and a full understanding, to get the resources, partners, and budget in place to elevate your brand online and build what you're doing both online and offline more effectively. Remember, a digital marketing strategy is less about which channels and tactics you should be using and more about making sure you're connecting with and impressing digital shoppers at every stage of their buyer's journey. You need to be more visible and more memorable than the competition.
So that wraps up our webinar on differentiation and digital marketing and setting your brand apart. So as we mentioned earlier on, we are offering attendees a free persona developed by our team to get you started. Feel free to get in touch after this call. And with a little insight from you or your team, we can get started. With that being said, I'd love to open up to any questions or thoughts you guys have on this webinar.
Okay, Justin and Adrian, we have a few. The first one is, if we invest in our brand and understanding our audience from a digital front, what's stopping a consumer from just going to Amazon or a Target store? If we invest in digital, seeing a direct-to-consumer sale seems like it should be what we get in return. What are your thoughts on that?
That's such a great question, and it's definitely one we hear many times. We've long been integrated marketing advocates, and again, consumers and technology is getting savvier, and so integrated marketing to unify that messaging, whether it's online, on your owned channels, on your retailers' channels, anywhere, is really important. You might have higher profit potential from certain distribution channels. Our experience and the people we've worked with, we feel pretty confident saying you'd rather have a shopper buy your product through any of your distribution channels than buy from your competitor, right? So it's not necessarily, and this ties back to what Justin was saying about overall brand lift online versus offline. Is it more important? We feel it's more important to get your brand and to be a brand and not just a manufacturer. That feeling and that connection is going to carry it through no matter where they buy. So if where they buy is most important to you, that's probably a separate conversation than that they buy you over your competitor.
Okay, great. Number two, you mentioned that developing personas can help budget more efficiently. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, budget, it's one of my favorite and least favorite questions. I guess it depends how you look at it. But I guess over the last decade or so working with Housewares brands, that budget question comes up pretty often. I mean, as it should. I mean, 15 years of digital marketing, I've yet to meet a client that has an endless marketing budget. So if you're on this call, I'd love to talk to you, but odds are that's not you. So, I mean, to answer your question, the better you can define who it is you want to talk to by investing in a marketing persona, the more focused your budget can be. So we can refer back to the example in the presentation of the persona Bethany. So while you can and should have more than one persona, if Bethany is your primary persona and where you get the bulk of your revenue, I mean, more of your marketing budget will be focused on her. So if I recall, the research and the data pointed to Bethany spending the bulk of her time on I think it was Pinterest and Facebook or Instagram, one of those two. But it wouldn't make sense to invest your marketing budget or advertising budget on a channel she wasn't actively using. So again, going back to being on the right channels, not all channels. And take a look at your personas, whether they're primary persona, secondary persona, or even an emerging market persona. I mean, it's just going to allow you to more efficiently and effectively align your budgets with who you want to reach. I mean, again, this also goes beyond just marketing. Another thing we constantly have heard from brands is that they wear multiple hats, right? So all you guys do more than just one thing at your jobs. And personas can help you focus internally as well. So personas can help you, like I said earlier, about communication with your graphic designer or with one of your external vendors. So this not only saves you the back and forth time, but can help streamline things with vendors as well. So tons of benefits with personas in terms of marketing budgets outside of just dollars. There's also the overhead part of it too. It's a great question.
Okay, is growing an email subscriber list more or less impactful than growing a social media following? Social media seems to have a greater engagement. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'd really have to, again, kind of go back towards who's your marketing personas, I mean, social media has different stats than email marketing. So you also, I mean, if it's an older person you're marketing to, they might respond better to email marketing. And it's really not the response and engagement rate that you're totally looking for. It's also what's the overall impact. So it could be that you do both, and you just really focus on one social media channel that really has an impact. And also, we really do highly encourage you to keep up on your email marketing, because it's your owned media, right? You own it. No one's going to take it away from you. You've earned that follower. You've earned that email address. On Facebook, I mean, if you go back to 10 years ago, if you had 100 fans and you put out a post, 80% of them would see it. Fast forward to today, you have 100 fans. If you put out an organic post, you're lucky if 2 people will see it, right? Without putting that advertising budget behind it. So, I mean, if you come about it from an integrated approach, I think that'll be your best bet. But yeah, I highly encourage you to take a step back and look at your market personas and see where you think you'll have the most impact.
All right, we have a lot of questions here, you guys. First of all, can you put the persona slide back up again, please?
Absolutely. There she is.
Okay, great. Are Facebook boosts and Instagram promotions a reliable way to reach consumers who have given you a page, a like, or a follow in the past?
In the path to purchase, I mean, yeah, I mean, it can definitely have an impact. Again, I really think you have to make sure you're getting in front of them in the right place at the right time. So if your boosted post is just forcing your products down their throat all the time, I really don't know how much impact you're having, right? But we talk about the thousands of messages that consumers are seeing. So whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on Instagram, you really have to make sure you're reaching them at the right time in the right moment and for the right reason. So I do think advertising from a social standpoint can have an impact on your overall buyer's journey, but you just have to do it right and effectively. And you have to, again, go back to that cornerstone of the brand consistency and that marketing persona. When you're looking at Facebook boosted posts, I mean, if you have a small budget, you might want to think about it in general, just looking at Facebook Ad Manager. You'll be able to fine tune and market a little bit more narrowly to the target market than just using a Facebook boost. There's more work, but your marketing dollars will go further.
I think it's also, sorry, Justin had just talked a little bit about how 10 years ago, 80% of your audience saw all of your content. And today, like especially with Facebook, their algorithm has really changed to put less eyeballs on a brand's content, even to their own followers. So if you are taking the time to write the right content and really strategize your social content correctly, having that little promoted post, boosting that to make sure that your audience does see it can definitely have some great benefits too. Again, like he said, it has to be the right messaging. It has to be a worthwhile post that you're looking to boost. But the fact that Facebook's not showing all your content to your fans all the time, that promoted post does allow you to kind of pay to play even with your own audience. So we have seen value in it for sure.
Okay, great. Could you give an example and an explanation of why someone would choose one social media platform versus another? Relate to a product type, categories, if you would.
Yeah, that's a really great question, and there is no one size fits all. That's one of kind of our cornerstone talking points is not every social channel is right for every brand. And so what we do is, and that's why we start with personas, is we do the data digging into each channel every time to make sure, is this channel right for this persona? Are these people really on Facebook? And if they're on Facebook, what are they looking for there? So there is no one size fits all in terms of which channel is right, even by product category.
Yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with the conversations we have almost every year at the IHHS show. I mean, brands come to us, and usually for the show, we offer some kind of free consultation. They come to us and say, I'm on Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and we're not seeing any results. And you take a look at their channels, and they're very inactive on all of them. So they're not doing one single channel well. And that's just a result of everyone wearing multiple hats, right? So you guys have more than one job. We understand that. So that's why we've created this and focused so much on this persona. It just helps not only externally focus on the consumer, but you internally focus on doing something well and doing something right.
Okay. Is it your opinion that retail buyers for big box stores are now choosing brands that also have great digital experiences?
Yeah, I think that's a valid point, and it's a concern we've been hearing from brands for quite some time. I think Adrian touched on it well. It's not only about engaging your users; it's about educating the users about your customers about their product well. And if retailers see that you're picking up that portion for them, I think that absolutely goes in your favor. If someone going to Target doesn't have to ask an employee to educate them on your product, you've already done that for them. I mean, that's a huge win for both you and Target. So yeah, I do think it's beneficial.
Okay, and the last question, a few people asked, can they access the presentation after the webinar is completed? And most certainly, everyone, you can go to www.housewares.org and to webinars and access this. Just give us about an hour or two to upload it, and we are all set. And once again, thank you all for joining us on Webinar Wednesday, and a big thanks to Adrian and Justin once again for an amazing, informative webinar. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.